Hello guys, welcome back to World News Channel today. Things worse for the North now after Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Jonathan failed us. Shariff, the man behind Katsina protest, explains. Nasura Asher Shariff, the man behind the Katsina protest, explains why they are fighting for the North. It's no longer news that the leader of the peaceful protest in Katsina on Tuesday, the 16th of June 2020, Nasura Asher Shariff, has been released after he was arrested in Katsina and taken to Abuja. Shariff and many others were unhappy with the activities of bandits and general insecurity in the North and decided to do something about it. The callous killings in Katsina State, which had continued unabated, triggered the massive protest in which hundreds of youths took to the streets against incessant killings in 7 frontline local government areas in Katsina State. Though a peaceful protest, Shariff was taken to force headquarters in Abuja, where he was interrogated. Shariff's freedom was made possible about 74 hours later by the enormous pressure exerted by the coalition of northern groups CNG, the Northern Elders Forum, patriotic leaders and elders of the North, among others. Nasura Asher Shariff has become a name in northern Nigeria. He commands respect in many quarters. He was born to an Islamic scholar in Sudawa of Gwale local government area, Kano State, on January 1, 1970. As a child, he lived with his father from whom he received a rudimentary Islamic education. He had all his education in Kano and started work with the Kano State Ministry of Education in 1988 and was transferred to Dala Local Government Secretariat in 1989 as Sports Secretary. Later, he was seconded to the Social Democratic Party as Deputy Administrative Secretary in 1993 and became personal assistant to the Vice Chairman of Dala Local Government Council in 1995 before retiring to start a private business and to serve as a personal assistant to the late Damasanin Kano, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Sule until his death. He is now the Chief Executive Officer of Tanera Global Investments. Okay. Now, an interview was given him and they asked, why the struggle against rights violation and banditry instead of enjoying a peaceful career in government or in a political office? My career in activism has its roots in history. At a very early age, I was exposed to the Damascene school of thought, where I received insightful knowledge of the political dynamics of Africa and Nigeria with a special bias for northern Nigeria. I was trained in contemporary political history, philosophical oratory, and diplomatic communication. It was during this apprenticeship with the Damascene that I would find my true calling as an activist and rights crusader. Through Damascene's guidance and mentorship, I acquired the skills to run his own youth organization. Would you say democracy has been good for the North? Ordinarily, I wouldn't want to assess development in terms of regionalism or sectional preference. I would rather, after all these years of our independent existence, Nigeria had blended into one solidly united and prosperous nation. Unfortunately, it has not been so, and here we are, having to assess governments on the basis of our individual regions, sections, ethnicity, and even religion. One cannot, therefore, fail to note that since the inception of the current dispensation, the northern region had virtually been taken for a rough ride in the tide. In the first 8 years from 1999 to 2007, when Obasanjo was in power, the North had all its flourishing industries collapse deliberately, its people removed from top government positions, and its economy and social cohesion generally disrupted. The period between 2007 and 2015, when President Yar'Adua and Jonathan held sway, saw the setting in of the most devastating security situation in the North and the determination to bring the region down on its knees and then achieve some form of disintegration of the country. While Northerners might have been rendered hopelessly vulnerable. And with the coming of this administration, which the Northern people actively and collectively made possible, in the hope for a fairer and just deal, things got worse for the region. From its maiden budget in 2016, the administration had set a trend of grossly shortchanging the North, which subsists to date. The North had been shortchanged over infrastructure distribution and key government appointments. And to make matters worse, it is having to live with a whole new brand of criminality, in addition to a deepening level of poverty. Your group, the CNG, what led to its formation? Essentially, the birth of the coalition of northern groups CNG was informed by the urgency of the need for a unified front from which the northern position on issues would be articulated and presented. Initially, what we had was the Yar'Adua Students Forum, ASF, which mutated into the Yar'Adua Youth Development Foundation, AYDF. As we acquired more vibrancy, we aimed for the mainstream by merging the ASF and AYDF to create the Yar'Adua Citizens Action for Change. Since its creation in 2010, the ACAC strove to leave an impressive legacy of social and political heroism. With writings, speeches, and protests, we fought against prejudice against the North and misgovernance across the country, no matter what potential dangers we faced. In 2017, at the peak of the violent secessionist agitation by Nnamdi Kanu's indigenous people of Biafra, we met with about 26 like-minded northern groups and agreed on the formation of the coalition of northern groups, which effectively deflated the IPOB momentum and stabilized the country. This is in addition to the setting up of the initiative for community action against drug abuse and establishment of mentorship programs targeting northern students of high institutions of learning. It's also initiated the Shege Kafasa Regional Security Outfit for securing the region against banditry and other forms of criminal activities. Your proposed security outfit, Shege Kafasa, what's the update? Shege Kafasa as a concept is still on course and shall be actualized before the COVID-19 lockdown. We were far into the process of seeking legal redress against the rejection of our application for registration by the Corporate Affairs Commission. But with the prevailing circumstances, I believe it's the right time to revisit the matter. Were you able to address the seeming disagreement on Shege Kafasa with the Sultan of Sokoto, who took exception to its formation? There was no disagreement per se. Perhaps difference of understanding and perhaps the usual elite optimism that things would be sorted out ordinarily, without minding that these are extraordinary situations that require extraordinary solutions. It is cheering that the Sultan has finally come to terms with the reality of the situation, as seen in his recent hard stance on the killings. How close is your CNG with the Northern Elders Forum? We are very much affiliated to the Northern Elders Forum by virtue of our shared values and concerns for the interests of the North and the prosperity of Nigeria in just and fair circumstance. In fact, we were material to the creation of the Northern Elders Forum, which along with ACAC and other groups launched a massive campaign that culminated in the defeat of the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan. How can you precisely trace your role in the history of the creation of NEF, seeing that its membership is of elder statesmen while you are youth? It was at the peak of the Boko Haram insurgency, when almost the entire North was turning into a war front, that we thought of getting additional backup to speak against it. At that time, the ACAC was the only northern outfit that was speaking daily on the deadly situation in the Northeast. Wow. So this was the very long and massive interview by the man who led the peaceful protests in Katsina. So guys, what do you have to say concerning this? Drop your comments in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.